welcome back. You ready for Sutra 15? I haven't practiced it, so let's see how I do with the pronunciation. Drushtanusravika, Drustanusravika, Vishaya, Vitrinasaya, Vishikara, Samjna, Vairagyam. Drushtanu Sravi. I'm having fun embarrassing myself. It's one of those kinds of existential kink things, right? Drushtanu Sravika Visaya Vitrin. There's like 4 consonants in a row. Vitrinasaya, Vasikara, Samjna, Vairagya. Okay. For seen here in this world, visible, physical, and heard, promised in the scriptures, revealed objects of him who has ceased to thirst, consciousness of perfect mastery of desires, non-attachment, detachment. The consciousness of perfect mastery of desires in the case of one who has ceased to crave for objects, seen or unseen, is Vairagya. This sutra defines Vairagya, the second general meaning of bringing about the suppression of chitta-vrittis. The full significance of Vairagya and its role in bringing the mind to a condition of rest will be fully understood only after the study of the philosophy of kleshas outlined in section 2. Here we shall discuss only certain general principles. The word Vairagya is derived from the word raga, which has been defined in section 2, Sutra 7, as the attraction which arises due to pleasure derived from any object. Vairagya therefore means the absence of any attraction toward objects which give pleasure. The question may be asked, why absence of attraction only? Why not absence of repulsion as well? Because attraction and repulsion are a pair of opposites, and repulsion binds the soul to the objects as much as attraction. The reason why dvesha has been left out, or that's repulsion, right? Aversion. In the etymological expression of the idea as Vairagya is not oversight, but the fact that dvesha is really included in raga and forms with it a pair of opposites. So raga and dvesha. I have a video on that, so you can look back in my videos and see. I think it talks about desire and attraction. I think is the name of the video. The alternation of attraction and repulsion between two individuals who are attached to each other shows the underlying relation of attraction and repulsion and their common derivative or derivation from attachment. So non-attachment, this is Bijou. Bijou, I'm in the middle of reading this sutra, honey. Can you? Yeah, I know. You'll be all right. Can you go somewhere else, please? Please? Thank you. The alternation of attraction and repulsion between two individuals who are attached to each other shows the underlying relation of attraction and repulsion and their common derivation from attachment. So non-attachment, which means freedom from both attraction and repulsion, correctly expresses the underlying meaning of Vairagya. The reason why Vairagya plays such an important part in restraining and then eliminating chitta-vrittis lies in the fact that desire in its two expressions of raga and dvesha is a tremendous driving and disturbing force which is incessantly producing vrittis in the mind. In fact, in the earlier stages of evolutionary progress, desire is the sole driving force, and the development of the mind takes place almost solely as a result of the constant driving to which it is subjected by desire. Isn't that interesting? The sole driving force of evolution, basically, or the creation of light. Well, that's right, because they say Shiva. Oh, we can get into that later. In the later stages, other factors also come in, and as desire gradually changes into will, the later, more and more desires the driving force behind the evolutionary development. All aspirants who are treading the path of yoga must therefore try to understand clearly the role which desire plays in our life and the manner in which it keeps the mind in a constant state of agitation. Many sadhakas, not realizing sufficiently the disturbing influence of desire, try to practice meditation without giving sufficient attention to the problem of controlling desires, with the result that they do not succeed to any considerable extent in freeing the mind from disturbances at the time of meditation. Trying to render the mind calm without eliminating desires is like trying to stop the movement of a boat on a surface of water which is being violently agitated by a strong wind. However much we may try to hold it down in one position by external force, it will continue to move as a result of the impulses imparted to it by the waves. But if the mind dies down and the waves subside completely, the boat will come to rest in time, even without the application of an external force. So is the case with the mind. Oh, I lost my place. If the driving force of desire is eliminated completely, the mind comes to rest, niruddha state, naturally and automatically. The practice of Vairagya is the elimination of the driving force of desire, using the word desire in its widest sense of vasana, as explained in section 4, which we'll get to later. But I'm probably going to end up defining vasana for you at some point before then. But the elimination of chitta-vritti by practicing Vairagya alone, though theoretically possible, is neither feasible nor advisable. Why? It's like trying to stop a car by merely shutting off the supply of gas. Why not also apply the brakes and make the car stop more rapidly and effectively? Herein comes the role of abhyasa, consistent practice, right? Abhyasa and Vairagya are therefore jointly utilized for chitta-vritti nirodha. After this general consideration of the role of Vairagya, let us now take note of some of the phrases used in section 1, Sutra 15, which is what we're reading right now, with a view to understand the full implication of the definition given therein. Visaya are the objects which produce the attraction and consequent attachment. They have been divided under two heads: those which are seen and those about which we merely hear. For instance, those which are mentioned in scriptures. Anushravika, of course, refers to the enjoyments which the followers of Orthodox religion expect to gain in the life after death. The practice of Vairagya seeks to destroy the thirst for both kinds of enjoyments. It will be seen from what has been stated above that the yogic ideal is entirely different from the Orthodox religious ideal. In the latter, a particular kind of life and conduct are prescribed, and if the votary of the particular religion conforms to that code of conduct, he expects to live after the dissolution of the physical body in a superphysical world with all kinds of enjoyments and means of happiness. The heavens of different religions may differ with regard to the amenities which they provide, but the underlying ideal is the same. For instance, a particular kind of life which consists in following certain observances and moral code ensures a happy life in the hereafter. The yogic philosophy does not deny the existence of heaven and hell, but it places before the yogi an ideal of achievement in which the enjoyments and pleasure of heaven life have no place, but because these also are temporary and subject to illusion. The enjoyments of the heaven world are nothing as compared with the bliss and powers which the yogi acquire when his consciousness passes into the still higher planes of existence, which can happen here in an embodied state on earth. Even these transcendent states have to be renounced by him in his progress toward his ultimate goal. Every power and pleasure which is born out of contact with Prakriti and which is not contained in the self, and therefore does not make the yogi self-contained, is to be included in Anushravika Visaya. It may be pointed out here that it is not the feeling of enjoyment on coming in contact with those Visayas which constitutes Trishna. He keeps introducing all these words. In our contact with objects of senses, some must necessarily produce a sensation of pleasure. When consciousness functions on the higher planes through the subtler vehicles, bliss is the natural, inevitable accompaniment. But it is not this feeling of pleasure or bliss which constitutes raga. It is the attraction and consequent attachment which is the cause of bondage and must be destroyed by the practice of Vairagya. It is also necessary to remember that mere absence of attraction due to the inactivity of the body or satiety, is that how you pronounce it? Or preoccupation with the other things does not constitute Vairagya. A man who becomes old may lose his sex desire for the time being. A politician engaged in the pursuit of his ambitions may for the time being become indifferent to sensuous enjoyments. But this temporary indifference toward objects has nothing to do with Vairagya. The attraction is merely an abeyance ready to come to the surface as soon as the necessary conditions are present. What is needed for true Vairagya is the deliberate destruction of all attractions and the consequent attachments and conscious mastery over the desires. This is the meaning of the phrase Vashikara Samjna, control over the vehicles through which the desires are felt, and the consciousness of mastery, which comes from such control, are the essential elements of Vairagya. For gaining this kind of mastery, one should have come in contact with temptations of every kind, and should have passed through ordeals of every description, and come out not only triumphant, but even without feeling the slightest attraction. For if the attraction is felt, even though we may not succumb to the temptation, we have not completely mastered the desire. It will be seen, therefore, that isolation from the world or running away from temptations does not help us in acquiring true Vairagya, though this may be necessary in the very early stages of acquiring self-control. We have to learn the lessons and test ourselves in the midst of pleasures and temptations. Of course, not by yielding to temptations and indulging in pleasures, but by trying to pierce through the glamorous illusions which surround such pleasures while we are under their domination. Real Vairagya is not characterized by a violent struggle with our desires. It comes naturally and in its most effective form by the exercise of our discriminative faculty, which is called viveka. Glamour plays a very great part in producing raga or attachment, and even ordinary intellectual analysis combined with reason and common sense can free us from many unreasonable habits and attachments. But the real weapon to be used in acquiring true Vairagya is the more penetrating light of buddhi, which expresses itself as viveka or discrimination. As our bodies are purified and our mind becomes free from the cruder desires, this light shines in increasing brightness and destroys our attachments by exposing the illusions which underlie them. In fact, viveka and Vairagya may be considered two aspects of the same process of dissipation of illusion through the exercise of discrimination on the one hand and renunciation on the other. As the process reaches a deeper level, it merges more and more in jnana, Jnana, and becomes almost indistinguishable from it. This is true wisdom, true awareness. Okay, now let's do sutra number 16. Tat param Puruṣa kyatar guna vetrishnyam. Guna vetrishnyam. I think I did that right. Tat param Puruṣa kyatar guna vetrishnyam. Highest ultimate by or from awareness of the Puruṣa or the self, freedom from the least desire for the gunas. Now, I don't think, well, we've talked about the gunas before briefly, but I didn't go into them. So it's the 3 different aspects of reality. So it's heaviness, dullness is tamas, and sattva is purity and enlightenment and lightness and bliss and delight. And then rajas is this kind of passionate desire. It's a very fiery energy. It's restlessness, right? Okay. That is the highest Vairagya, in which, on account of the awareness of the Puruṣa is the experiencing being, right? There is cessation of the least desire for the gunas. It has been pointed out in connection with the previous sutra that discrimination and renunciation mutually strengthen each other and bring about progressively the destruction of illusions and attachments, which are the root cause of bondage. This results in the release of consciousness from fetters which bind it to the lower worlds, and the whole process culminates, as we shall see later, in kaivalya, the final objective of yoga. In that state, the Puruṣa, having realized his true nature and having shaken off the yoke of matter, has no attraction left even for the subtlest kinds of bliss experienced on the highest planes of existence. He is completely self-sufficient and above all such attractions, which are based on the play of the gunas. This Vairagya, which is based upon the destruction of avidya, or ignorance, and the realization that everything is contained in the Puruṣa himself, or the Puruṣa is the source of everything, is the highest kind of Vairagya and is called para-vairāgya. So para is like supreme or the highest, right? Para-vairāgya. It will be seen that this para-vairāgya, which is a characteristic of the Puruṣic consciousness, if this word can be used, can appear only on the attainment of kaivalya. The fact that complete Vairagya develops only on the attainment of Puruṣa Khyati means that though there may be no active attachment in the lower stages, still the seeds of attachment remain. This means that while there is the possibility of attachment developing again before Puruṣa Khyati is attained, no such possibility exists after this stage is reached. This fact has also been expressed very well in the Bhagavad Gita, in the well-known sloka, section 259. And he's quoting it here. The objects of sense, but not the relish for them, turn away from an abstemious dweller in the body, and even relish turneth away from him after the Supreme is seen. There you go. Okay, and the next one goes pretty much into detail, so that's where we're going to stop for tonight. We did 15 and 16. I hope that was fun for you. Thank you for joining me today. Until next time.